Now we are going to see the division of kingdom fungi. So we start with Zygomycetes. As we had discussed, the other name oftenly used in place of Zygomycetes is Phycomycetes. So you are going to learn it in both the context. You don't have to get into the depth why they are named so. As you can see over here, this is a rotting bread that is having a bread mold over it. If we magnify that greenish part, that greenish fungi that is present over the bread which rots after 2-3 days, it is the bread mold that we see, and the example is of Rhizopus. Over here you see the mycelium. The rhizoids are root like structures which are going to be embedded in the substratum, that is going to take up the nutrition. They are going to get developed and they are going to form the myceliums. You see the sporangiophore, the stalk which would bear the sporangium. There would be a stolon which would be connecting the sporangiophores, and this sporangium is going to have spores present inside it. So let us see what Zygomycetes is all about. See, the name Zygomycetes is because there are zygosporangia which are present in sexual reproduction. Let us see the class characteristics, and we are going to see few examples as well. The Zygomycetes exhibit great diversity of life histories because some of them show alternation of generation at one stage while others show differently. There are so many species which are present in Zygomycetes. Earlier even the slime molds were included in this classification, so they are quite diverse phylum in themselves. They include fast growing molds. Yes, I give you the example of Rhizopus. So they include the fast growing molds. They are going to be parasitic as in the case of certain plant parasites that we have, and commensal symbionts. They are going to give benefit to the plants or whatever main autotrophic entity they are going to feed on. Then we have the Zygomycetes are named for their sexually produced zygosporangia. Didn't we talk about zygospore in the previous lesson? So that zygospore is born upon zygosporangium. That zygosporangium is the mycelium basically. That is why the name comes Zygomycetes. Now zygosporangia which are resistant to freezing and drying can survive unfavorable conditions. This you have to remember. Talk about their examples. We have example of mucor which is present abundantly in the soil and is responsible for rotting of certain chemicals inside the living material. Then we have Rhizopus, the bread mold that rots your bread, that does not let your bread survive even for 4 days. And then we have albugo. This albugo is a plant parasite on mustard. You might have seen those mustard plants getting a rotten sort. That is due to albugo candida, which is a zygomycetic fungi. Then we have the simplest descriptions and examples. We have Rhizopus as shown over here. Then we have mucor, that is also represented, and then we have Pylobolus, that is also an example. Here the vesicles are being formed. As I told you in the beginning that you don't have to get into the vesicular formation. What you have to remember is that sporangia is being formed and spores are present inside them. Those spores are going to be formed as a result of asexual reproduction, or they are going to be formed as a result of sexual reproduction. In case they are zygospores, so they would be result of sexual reproduction. Then what we move to next. What is this? As you can see, the simplest idea that you can get over here, that these are something cup shaped, okay, something that is cup shaped. These are fungi, and Ascomycetes is the name of this category of fungi. Asco name refers to sac. Why this is termed as Ascomycetes? Because asco, if we have to understand the meaning, it means a sac or cup shaped fruiting bodies is the characteristic feature of this division. Now a cup shaped fruiting body, what basically is a fruiting body? Fruiting body is something which has the spores inside it. As I told you in the beginning, this Ascomycetes and the other class, that is Basidiomycetes, the classification is made on the type of fruiting body inside which the meiotic spores are developing. So those asexual sexual spores, pardon me if I am getting confused in asexual and sexual, you don't have to get confused with that. Asexual spores are kept aside. We are talking about sexual reproduction, and in terms of sexual reproduction, the sexual spores that would be formed inside the fruiting body, that fruiting body would be the characteristic feature on basis of which the classification would be made. come to the fruiting body, what you see over here, this is the simplest description that I can give you. This is cup shaped as we saw in the previous picture. These are the fungal mycelium, and you can see, if you can make it out, there are fruiting bodies inside it which are known as ascus. Okay, in the ascus we have ascospores, and this entire is the fruiting body. This is known as ascocarp. Now you have to remember the terms, and I am mentioning them over here. See, Ascomycetes has ascocarp. Now you know the word carp is for fruit. We always use the word carp for fruit. So we have this cup shape that is somewhat like a cup for toasting wine or drinks, you can say. This ascocarp is the fruiting body inside which we have ascus. Now ascus are what? They are sac-like structures, as you can see over here, in which you are going to find 8 ascospores. Okay, so these ascus are present inside the ascocarps. Ascocarps are having ascus, ascus are having ascospores. And what are ascospores? They are meiotic spores, haploid spores, which are going to germinate and give rise to new fungal mycelium. Now let's see the characteristics. Ascomycetes, they live in marine, freshwater and terrestrial habitat, so we see that they are ubiquitous in their availability. The phylum is divided by production of sexual spores in sac-like asci, usually contained in fruiting bodies called ascocarps. As I told you, what are ascocarps? Ascomycetes are commonly called sac fungi because of these, and Ascomycetes, they vary in size and complexity from unicellular yeast to elaborate cup fungi and morels. So when we come to morels and cup fungi, we have been introduced, or we have been told that the most important yeast, which is highly important for economic purposes and industry, that is also part of Ascomycetes. And when we talk about yeast, the least thing I remember is we used to draw the budding method of asexual reproduction in yeast. So you can recall that this Ascomycetes has the simplest form of reproduction as well as the most complex one, where they have ascospores which are being formed. So remember it from yeast. Yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. I have not mentioned over here. You have to remember that yeast is the example of Ascomycetes. It is a unicellular fungi. It could be put into the kingdom Protista, but over here we take it in fungi only. Ascomycetes, the example is Aspergillus. Now Aspergillus is also very important fungi from economic point of view, because it is responsible for production of aspartic acid. Then we have Neurospora. Neurospora is fungi that belongs to Ascomycetes yet again, and it is termed as Drosophila of plant kingdom. That means if I have to study some genetic implication of a plant, I would better go for Neurospora. It is easier. As in the case of, if we have to study animal characteristics and the genetic content of animal world is to be considered, we take Drosophila as an example. And in the plant kingdom, though it is not plant kingdom from our knowledge of 5 kingdom classification, in all these plant like organisms that are not animal like, we have Neurospora. So it is the Drosophila of plant kingdom. And then we have Claviceps. Claviceps is responsible for causing ergot of rye, which is used for production of certain drugs which are useful for betterment of diseases. And moving further, this is the sexual reproduction representation of Ascomycetes. As you can see over here, let us start with the first stage, that is the mycelium that we have over here. This is the plus mating type and this is the negative mating type. Plus minus means the one would give rise to one type of gamete and other would give rise to another type, and they are going to come close to each other. As you see over here, one is having ascogonium and other is having antheridium. Whatever gametes or cells are present inside the antheridium, they would go to ascogonium. Inside the ascogonium, there would be formation later on. Once there is transfer, that means heterokaryotic condition is being formed, there would be formation of fruiting body. Inside the fruiting body, you are going to see the not the asco, it would be, you would see ascus, the sacs. As you can see, this is a single cell, it divided into two, then it gave rise to 4 cells. That means this part is representing meiotic division, where a single cell gave rise to 4 cells. After these 4 cells are formed, each cell undergoes mitosis and 8 ascospores are formed. When 8 ascospores are formed inside each ascus, what happens is that the ascospores are released. When the ascospores are released, they are going to give rise to new mycelium, which would further act as positive and negative later on for next mating cycle. So this is about the sexual reproduction. Now what is next is Basidiomycetes. Now these are the only fungi I was introduced to first ever time in my life. These are mushrooms basically. You would find these wild mushrooms, you would find them on your dining table as well when you are consuming mushrooms on some pizza or something. So these are edible fungi that we have. There are many edible fungi, but simplest example is those of these mushrooms. Now they belong to class Basidiomycetes. As I told you, here also we have the classification on the basis of fruiting body. Here the fruiting body would be basidiocarp. As we had escocarp, where over here it would be basidiocarp. Carp word, that means it is for fruit. We have basidiocarp. Like we had ascus over here, we are going to have basidium, where the spores would be formed. In the ascus there were 8, in the basidium there are 4 spores which are formed, and the spores would be called basidiospores. These are your learning things that you have to remember. See, let's see the class characteristics. They are also known as club fungi. They have almost 25,000 species that have been discovered. The sexual reproduction is by the means of basidiospores, which are formed on club shaped basidia, which are present in the basidiocarps. Some produce asexual spores known as conidia, and talking about their their fungal body, we have discussed which one was septate and which was aseptate. Now hypha would be septate because as you can see, such a big fungi, it cannot be aseptate cenocytic condition, but divided by incomplete cross walls, the cell may or may not contain 1 or 2 nuclei, and the fruiting body is basidiocarp. All that we have read and talked about, this is repetition of that. Now we will see the actual mushroom. Where is the basidium located? What is inside the basidium? We have talked about it, but let's see. See, this is the fungi that you have. If you put that cap of the fungi, which is known as pilus, what you see underneath are the gills. Inside each gill, or you can say at the periphery of each gill is comprised of basidium. Okay, this is the basidiocarp. It is going to have basidium, and these basidium will have basidiospores. These are somewhat like those bowling pins that you have in your bowling games. Most of the students nowadays are quite fond of bowling. So this is what is a basidium basically, and over here we have basidiospores. This would be arranged in such a manner, as you can see, this would be the basidiocarp. There are so many basidium which are located, and inside each basidium there are basidiospores, 4 basidiospores that would be present. This is what we had to see. Now let us see the life cycle. Starting from the hyphae, see both, no, this won't be the right one. We are going to start from here. This is the fungal mycelium that we have, both of them. This not from here again we will see. This is to be seen from this point. No, this is to be seen from this point. These are the 2 fungal hyphae, one is positive, one is negative, plus and minus. See, this is basically a unit which is formed after sexual reproduction. Okay, now this is positive, this is negative fungal hyphae. It is one would act as male and one would act as female, to put it in simple terms. They are going to get close, then there would be plasmogamy that takes place. After that there would be that condition, dikaryon condition. Then what happens is this dikaryotic condition, it gives rise to the fungal fruiting body, where we have that mushroom. club fungi as we have gills, and inside the gills there are basidia which are formed. These basidia give rise to basidiospores. These basidiospores, they are going to germinate and give rise to mycelium yet again. If you cannot associate with this diagram, I am going to show you again that this is what a fungi looks like. On its gills you are going to find the basidiospores. Now come to this is how it started, fungal hypha in the beginning, most of them one acting as positive, one acting as minus. Then they come close, they form the dikaryon stage where two of the cells, they are in close contact, plasmogamy has taken place but karyogamy does not take place. Then we have the condition, these plasmogamous condition, it develops into a full good looking fungi, the good looking mushroom that we come across, that is in the dikaryonic stage. Dikaryon is formed, that dikaryon then gives rise to basidia. When this dikaryon forms basidia, there is fusion, that is karyogamy. Then meiosis takes place and basidiospores are formed, which later germinate to give rise to the mycelium. So this was about Basidiomycetes. Now let us see the examples of Basidiomycetes. See, these Basidiomycetes are responsible for smuts and rusts in plant, and they are very notorious for most of the farmers. You may ask them, they would be so tired of the rusts and smuts which come and destroy their crop. As you can see over here, the rusts which develop, there is wood rust, there are smuts. See how badly the corn has been destroyed. You can see these cucumbers have been destroyed, the rusts are there, that reddish part. All these are the notorious fungi which are harmful for the plants, and mostly they are harmful for the crops, and you will not like any farmer who basically likes a fungi. We are going to see the examples. Agaricus is the name for the simplest mushroom that we consume. Astilago is that genus which is responsible for these smuts, these red blackish spots which just take up the entire grain. They are responsible for smuts and bunts, that is Astilago. And talking about Picinia, Picinia is responsible for the rusts that develop. There are rusts which destroy the entire field of paddy and rest. Now last one is imperfect fungi. Why it is imperfect fungi? First thing I want to tell you before we come to imperfect fungi, whatever imperfect fungi we have studied till now, it is in close contact with Ascomycetes. Now we had discussed that this is a taxonomic misfit basically. They are considered as Ascomycetes whose asexual reproduction has not asexual yet again, sexual reproduction has not been discovered by now. Only asexual methods are seen, and as by any moment if you see that if they are producing basidiocarps, then you would classify them into Basidiomycetes, and if they are producing ascocarps, then it would be Ascomycetes. So most of them are in close relation with Ascomycetes, the first thing that I had to make clear to you. That is why we see the example of Aspergillus and Penicillium mentioned over here. Let's see what we have. First thing is that they have septate hypha, of course they will have that. They are terrestrial species, they would not be aquatic. They asexually reproduce by conidia. Sexual reproduction is not discovered. That is why they are imperfect fungi. They are fungi that where no sexual reproductive phase has been discovered, this I have been talking about. Have characteristics similar to Ascomycetes, again they are saying what only I have said, and classified on basis of asexual reproduction. They have given the example of Aspergillus and Penicillium, which were earlier the part of Deuteromycetes, but now they are part of Ascomycetes. So with this we are done with fungi and its classes.